So today, well, first before we start, so your microphones are muted. You can write questions into the questions panel. So after the presentation, I will look into this questions panel. Unfortunately, my colleague Nabil is not here today. He had an operation, so he's still recovering. We have so the webinar is recorded, and yeah, and that's me. So I'm Martin Buss, a designated support specialist at Autodesk since 5 years, mainly supporting Plants 3D and BIM 360. And here's the agenda. So today, some general Plants 3D updates, and then the big theme for this month is a deeper dive into the interop between Revit and Plants 3D, a topic that's is very popular, and yeah, to be honest, it could be also improved. There are still some room for enhancement when talking about this interoperability between Revit and Plants 3D, but on the other hand, we have solid workflows that help you to really make sure that you can see what your Revit team is creating in Plants 3D and what your Plants 3D is creating in Revit. So also there will be an open discussion and Q&A. As I said before, I will open the microphones as soon as we are done with this presentation. So the objective of today is, first of all, review the Revit's P&ID Modeler, understand how to use CATLink in Revit and reference Plants 3D models, understand how to efficiently share Revit models in Plants 3D, understand how to use BIM 360 model coordination to bring Revit and Plants 3D together in the BIM 360 model coordination, where you can do clash detection, as you might know already. So in this session, I will view some videos. This is also because I'm not a Revit specialist. I'm trying to get a Revit specialist, but I'm not yet. So I will need help from my colleagues that created these very good videos to show you the features that Revit has in conjunction with Plants 3D and the interop workflows as well. So let's continue with the safe harbor statement. So I might talk about some enhancements or some new features that we are expecting to come. So we do this if we are really sure that they will come. But sometimes even it's so likely that they will come, there is some unexpected change and then they don't come. So in very rare cases, so we may want to make you aware that even if we talk about something, it might not be in the worst case that it might not get reality, this outlook. All right, so with the plants, let's start with Plants 3D and the updates. So as you know, Plants 3D on BIM 360 docs. So since the 2021 version of Plants 3D, we can have collaboration projects on BIM 360 docs under the license of BIM 360 design. And there we have two server locations. One is in US and one is in Europe. I'm always adding that from the performance point of view, I cannot see really differences. Maybe that's measurable, but maybe that's not something you will notice. So mostly it's coming from a contract that in a contract you're not allowed to store data outside of Europe, for example, that makes customer ask for this European server. So this European server is now kind of fully available, supporting all the features, including P&ID Modeler. In the Revit 2021 update, the support for the P&ID Modeler also on the EU side came. Apart from this, the only difference I can see from this overview is that the construction IQ, which is a beta feature, is not included in the European server yet, but apart from this, everything available. So sometimes you might struggle how to go to the US server, how to go to the EU server. So these are really separated accounts. So you need to access them in a different way. Where you do access the US site with the URL docs.b360.autodesk.com, and when you explicitly want to access the EU site, then you will add into this URL the EU part before Autodesk EU dot. So this will lead you then to all the accounts where you have access and all the projects where you have access to on the European server, while the other URL will lead you to all the projects and accounts on the US server where you have access to. So let's go to the next slide. I see from one of the participants the comment that the audio is not working, or he's actually asking if the audio is not working. Is this something? It is working. So, okay, I see the confirmation, and thank you very much for all these confirmations. This very, very helps me a lot. So thank you very much. Okay, so let's continue. So obviously this was a problem on the user side, the audio. Revit and P&ID Modeler. P&ID Modeler exists in Revit since the 18.3 version, and it could access P&ID or Plan 3D collaboration projects on BIM 360 Team. So now, since 2021, Plan 3D collaboration is based on BIM 360 Docs, and Revit 2021 can now access those 2021 Plan 3D projects by the P&ID Modeler. And what Revit does is it has access to the P&IDs, and it brings in a panel where you can make use of the P&ID in order to create your Revit piping. So this is what the P&ID Modeler does. Let me give you some more introduction, some more information. So the P&ID Modeler for Revit streamlines the process for modeling in Revit based on the P&IDs and ensures the consistency between P&ID drawing and the Revit model. So you can also validate. You can see what did you already create in regards of piping in the Revit model and what is still to do by this additional panel which connects to the P&ID collaboration cloud project. So it enables the collaboration between project team members, including reuse of data captured in earlier stages, which means P&ID, and it simplifies the creation of the model based on the schematic deliverables by minimizing manual entry. So also information that got inserted into the P&ID will be reused in Revit without having to type it in again. And you can validate the consistency between the 2D schematics and the 3D model. So what problem are we trying to solve here? P&ID Modeler for Revit is intended to replace the manual workflow of creating a 3D model with the guidance of a printed P&ID drawing. So this very huge paper that you usually nail on the wall or which is lying on your desktop. Maybe the P&ID Modeler will give you a better interaction with the P&ID rather than the paper. Okay, I know the paper always is good as well. If you pin it on the wall, you have a great overview over everything. So that's of course always given by the paper, while the screen always just shows a portion of this big P&ID. So what I want to do now is show you a video which gives us a good idea about what the P&ID modeler does. So I think the audio of this video will not come over, but there are subtitles and I will just read for you. Let's start with this. So first in this case, you select the pump, and in the properties palette, you notice that currently the pump has no P&ID set. Sorry, I need to verify again. Are you hearing the sound from the video? Because if you hear both, then it's going to be chaos. No, all right, yeah, very good. Then I will just thank you. Then I will just first of all, you see what he's talking in the subtitles, and then I will also try to read a bit from it. Yeah, you see changes indicated after you did map parts from the P&ID modeler. So after you mapped a part, you brought in a part into the Revit 3D, and properties changed, and this property change will be indicated by the P&ID modeler, which you see on the right side. And then you see something changed, and then you can update the model. So you will get this warning if there's an open connection or if there's mismatch between the properties. Yeah, so now he's starting to route a pipe from the P&ID modeler. So now he's placing the valves. You can see that in the P&ID modeler, the order of the elements is according to the P&ID schematics. And as you can see, every time a part's being placed, so the color changes. So you will see if this part is already in the Revit model or if it's still missing. Yeah, and also if the order is wrong, you will get notified by the colors in the P&ID modeler. there is a circle on top in the header line. If it's fully green, the full pipeline is completed. If it's not green, then it's still work has to be done. Here you're going back to the pipelines overview, all the pipelines that are in this model. Yeah, so you see this drop when the piping component is not fully connected. So that also helps you to identify design problems. Yeah, so if there's an object mapping, and if you are connecting to parts other than indicated in the mapping, then there will be also some indication that there's an inconsistency. Yeah, so there are really various checks while you are routing the pipes that help you to avoid mistakes. Yeah, so this is really a very good introduction, I would say, to give you an idea what the Revit modeler is doing. So the P&ID Revit P&ID modeler is doing based on a cloud-based P&ID project. You can display the drawings from the Plans 3D project in Revit, and this helps you to route the pipes, to place the components, and always to validate if you're doing the right thing. It's just a helper that helps you doing the pipes in Revit. So here on this slide, you see some very useful links. So there has been an Autodesk University class that is going more into depth about the P&ID Modeler. We have a very good help for the P&ID Modeler in Revit that also explains the mapping, and we have Revit blogs and where you can get additional articles. So I just realized that in the Revit 2020, for example, so maybe in the 2021, it's updated as well. So you should really go to the latest help files, because I could see already difference to 2019, where the help regards of the mapping got more detailed, helping you to understand and guide you to create these mappings. So let's continue with exporting from Plans 3D into Revit. So here we're talking about different methods, but yeah. So the first method is you export Plant 3D models with the export to AutoCAD command into a plain AutoCAD DWG file. You put it on a shared location and you link this DWG into Revit. The problem with this workflow is that you can't cut them in 3D views. So this is something, and also for 2D views, you might get problems if you're doing this way. It's just the simplest way, the quickest way. Maybe if you want to link them in a quick way, you want to do it like this. But actually, the recommended way to do it is a different one. So let me quickly see. We have Revit 2. We have the Revit method 2 exactly. So, and here I have two workflows. So first of all, we have this workflow, and I will show you a little video from Joel. Prepared this. We have again Plant 3D model. You export to AutoCAD, make a plain DWG file out of it. Put this file into a shared location, but then you create a Revit family from it and use it. Load this family into Revit. So like this, you can cut it. You can use it for 3D views where you cut a part of the full model. And you can also use them for 2D views where you can, which you cannot really do with this method, the quick method 1. So let me quickly show you this method 2 in a video from Joel. This time, because it's coming from this WebEx or from this GoTo, you will hear the audio. If not, please tell me. Starting now.
To use method 2, we take our AutoCAD Plant 3D drawing that's already been exported out to AutoCAD, so it's strictly solids. We're going to create a family out of that. So we're going to create a new family. So inside Revit, we do that. We're going to use the English. We use the metric generic model, which is right there. And then we'll go to Insert here, and under that ribbon tab, pick the Import CAD command. And we can go ahead and insert that in to our family. And when we zoom out to see it, we'll see that geometry is there. And we'll go ahead and save this Revit family. In this case, it's called a family 3. We can rename that if you want to. And we'll call that out, save that as Plant 3D model. And that would be shared in a common location. Then we can go to our actual Revit model at that time. And in this case, we can go ahead and load that family up. And it's going to be available under generic models. You can see it right there. There's an instance of it right there. And we can create that in the model. And you can actually locate it or place it at 0, 0, wherever you'd like it to go.
All right, yeah, sorry for this. Had a little bit of trouble. I'm still having a bit of trouble with this pane, with this video pane, but my screen will be back. Yeah, I think you can see my screen now again. All right, very good. Thank you very much for helping me on this. Without this great audience, I would be a bit lost, I would say. As I said, Nabil, he couldn't join because of some health issues. So what we just seen is one way to create a family out of Plants 3D model, but there's also a different workflow which you see here. So you could go into the in the architecture tab, you will find model in place, and in model in place you do actually the same thing that you just did before, but maybe that's more convenient to do it like this. So you create a model in place with and then you select either to link or to import the DWG. So linking means you could replace it later on, and then if you open Revit, it will update. But importing, especially when talking about bigger models, the good thing about importing is if it's once there, then Revit will load it very quickly. If it's linked and you need to load it again and again, it's gonna take some time. Okay, so the next point, exporting from Revit into Plants 3D. So here we have, we see a workflow that is, I would say, not being used so often. So this is exporting from Revit to Plants 3D, where you create a, for example, using NWC out from Revit to create an NWC file, or you create with use of Navisworks a NWD file or NWC file from the Revit model. You can attach it to Plants 3D, and that's a quick way to display the Revit model without any action on the Revit side. But as you might know, in Plants 3D, it's a bit hard to handle this model, this Navisworks model. You would need to kind of open, if it's a building, you open this building and save it in Navisworks, then attach it to Plants 3D. Then you could probably use it as a reference model where you can create pipes in this building, but it has to be open. So really, you cannot go into this building. You cannot dive into a building as a DWG attachment in Plants 3D. That will not work well. Also, and that's maybe the biggest limitation here, is you cannot use it for ortho drawings like this. You can, it's called coordination model, because you can coordinate with it in Plants 3D with the, assuming that you prepare it in Navisworks so it's open and you can really get into the snaps that you need, but you cannot use it for the ortho drawing, so it will not, it's not supported. That's why what you want to do is using Revit to Plants 3D as a DWG, where you export, you go in Revit, export CAD formats DWG. And here we have a setting where you can choose solids versus polymesh. I would assume the solids are more performant, so that's a clear plus. And yeah, of course, after you, exported DWG files from Revit, you can XREF them into Plant 3D. So what you can also do in Revit, you can create portions of the full Revit model as DWG. So what we sometimes see is the customers getting too big exports from Revit. Of course, it makes more sense to split it into, like, for example, by floors. If it's a building, splitting it by floors, that would make sense. And you can do that with by creating 3D views in Revit and then exporting from these views. So here, and I hope I will not run into the same problems again. Here I will show you again the video from Joel, which is showing Revit to Plant 3D method 2.
Exporting a DWG file from Revit so that it can be used in AutoCAD Plant 3D is a fairly simple operation. The main thing is to make sure that you've reduced the level of detail in your Revit view and that you're in a 3D view, shown here, of the model so that the geometry you expect to be exported will be exported in 3D. So in this case, if I had any small holes or layers that I could turn off, geometry that I could turn off that wasn't necessary for AutoCAD Plant 3D, it will save you a lot of time in orthographic generation as well as in overall model performance. So I'm going to go to File and I'm going to export. And under CAD formats, I have the option of DWG and also the ACES solids or SAT can be generated. These files tend to be larger, but you can take them into Inventor and do things like shrink wrap, export those from there if you need to clean up equipment models for use in Plant 3D. If we go out to a DWG file here, we recommend that you go to the export setup and modify that export setup to make sure that your solids that you're exporting are going to be ACES solids rather than meshes. And that will generate nice clean geometry that will be sent out to AutoCAD Plant 3D. And then you would XREF that drawing into your AutoCAD Plant 3D model that you create. And so you can call this whatever you want to. Just be consistent with that, because if you use it as an XREF, then you want to be able to have that XREF automatically update in Plant 3D by exporting out from Revit to the same file name and in the location that can actually be referenced by Plant 3D.
Okay, I am back. So yeah, that's regarding the export from Revit to Plant 3D. Let's let's go to the next point. BIM 360 design, coordination spaces. So here we are changing slightly the topic because this wants to show you now how to make use of the BIM 360 workflows that's been offered in your coordination project. So in your Plant 3D coordination project, the files will be stored on BIM 360, but this is not just used as a storage, as a cloud storage for your central project. Also, you could use functionality that's offered via the browser. Again, always you need to know as a participant on a collaboration project that you shouldn't do file operations, core file operations like uploading, downloading you need for in some cases, but renaming, also locking, something you don't do in the browser with Plant 3D files. It's all been managed by Plant 3D. But there are some additional workflows that you could make use of, and first of all, talking about the compare function, where you can compare your actual file version with the previous versions to see what changed. Is something I'm not going to show here. But yeah, you could also use the clash detection, where you could use Revit files and Plans 3D files. You put them together in a folder and declare this folder as a coordination space in BIM 360 coordinate. So that's called a model coordination. And here, yeah, here's just a slide that shows you how this setup works. And yeah, so as I just said, you put the Revit and the DWG files from Plans 3D into one folder that's declared as a coordination space. Then the clash detection will be created automatically between these files. So in the case of Revit, you can also publish based on one model, you can publish various views and can let these views clash against each other and clash against the Plans 3D model. So, for example, different disciplines will result in different views published from Revit, while in Plans 3D, you split anyway your the project into various files. So let's have a look how to create such a coordination space, where you declare a folder as a coordination space in a BIM 360 as a project admin. You go here, you select the folder, and note that that's pretty new. You can use folders from the project files and also from plans. So that was restricted to plans before. Yeah, there you create your space. You just declare a folder as a coordination space. And then what we are showing here is you could use the review process to put your Plans 3D file or to update your Plans 3D file in this coordination folder. So this means the workflow would be you are working on your design, and then you trigger a review where you say, okay, somebody please have a look at it. So as a result of this review, the design file will be copied automatically if you set it up accordingly in the configuration as an admin. It will be copied into this coordination folder, and there the clash detection will automatically then take place. And yeah, just a word about the review process. As you see on the right side here, we have different ways to create such the simplest is the one-step approval, but you could make 2, 3, 4-step approval, 5, 6 as well, and also using group approvals, where in one step a whole group has to approve before going to the next step. Also, there are options to further refine this process. So yeah, as you see, as a result of this review, there has to be a reaction from the reviewer, like it's approved or not. And then you can set up the file will be, if it's approved, will be copied to a different folder that we're making use here for the putting them into this coordination folder, where automatically the clash detection will take place then. So that's in the setup. So the coordination space, maybe let's quickly jump into this video from Joel, who made all the efforts to make this very visible to you. Let's start this at this point.
So with our piping model checked out from the BIM 360 project, we can make changes to it. And at that point, when we check it back into BIM 360, we can set up an approval workflow that actually moves those models to the collaboration workspace. So we'll save this back up to BIM 360 now. As the project administrator for this project that I've created here for Plan 3D, I can create a approval workflow. In this case, I'm going to create an Area 1 approval workflow that takes models from the design team's various locations, whether it's Revit, Civil 3D, Plan 3D, and moves those models to the Area 1 folder underneath the approved for models for folder federation location. I can define who's going to be able to initiate the process. This would be one of our model editors, and the approver can be one of our admins, or if we have a checker. And then we can specify here the location where those models will be placed after approval is complete, and they'll be copied there. In BIM 360, under the document management module, we have our Plan 3D project location here. It is located underneath the project files, and it has the different area folders that we talked about. And in that area folder, I can see the model that I just updated, and we can go ahead and submit that for review. If there was other models, we would select those as well. And this is going to be our Area 1 approved for coordination workflow, and that will be go ahead and initiated. We'll submit that, and the approvers will be notified that there is a review open, and they initiate the review. We can go ahead and send to other project members if we need to. The approver receives an email from BIM 360 and can then initiate the review of that particular document set that needs to be approved for move to the coordination location. And here's the model. I can view it if I want to within the BIM 360 viewer, looking at it from here, make comments, necessary changes or whatever, and then we can go ahead and accept that. By starting the review here, setting this review to me, and we go ahead and approve it. Once we've looked at it, we can add comments if we want to, and that's reviewed. So now we can see that after the approval, our model, as well as other models that were linked to it and models that are came from other approvals, are all going to reside in this Area 1 folder. What's nice about this now is that these are all ready for review and model coordination, which we can switch to. And after the models have been put in there, a clash detection will be run in the cloud automatically. And you can see the clashes that are available for your models. If there are clashes out there, you can review them within model coordination space and see them, the different views. We could mark them up with comments if we needed to. Then finally with Navisworks, we can use the BIM 360 coordination tab to open up a coordination space that's in BIM 360. By selecting our project, selecting our drawing that we want to look at, and open it up, and we'll be able to review the clashes here, and if there are any issues, we'll see those as well.
Okay, so just some comments. The last, in the very last part, you have seen Navisworks that can load the model from, or the models from the coordination space. This is still in beta, so there is an issue integration for Navisworks already released, but this particular feature to get the models from the coordination space is new and is in beta. And so what Joel didn't show here is that, of course, in the same folder where he did put the Plan3D models as a result of a review. In this folder also Revit files can go. Also IFC files from certain vendors can, or certain formats can go into this clash check using the model coordination in BIM 360. This just as a comment. Also, what you can do directly in the while viewing the clashes is you can create issues. So you could directly create a task that you assign to someone from the project, where you say, okay, you please will be the one to avoid this clash by taking action. So that's where we're aiming to integrate the processes in a project into the system, getting everything in one place and connecting it. And so what's shown here is just the setup of this coordination space again, and how to set up this approval workflow. Okay, so I see that the slides are already done. So I will go to the questions panel now, and I will then open your microphones, where we have some time left now, but so yes, there's been one comment about the P&ID modeler shown in the video, which is which was the old one based on BIM 360 team, but the new one looks exactly the same. So it's just based on a different platform. So it's using models coming from a different platform in Revit 2021. The P&ID models are not coming from team projects anymore. They are coming from BIM 360 docs projects that you can use since 2021 in Plan3D. So yeah, there is one question coming in. So if I understood it, there is still not a simple method to move data between P&ID and Revit. Autodesk now suggesting we purchase yet another software application. How much will BIM 360 cost? So cost, so I'm not really the right person for the cost. Please go to your vendor talking about the cost. But so BIM 360 and so the BIM 360 part that we're showing here. Let's turn it the other way around. What you're mixing up things here. So what we were showing was the P&ID integration into Revit. You're talking about Plan3D and Revit interoperability. And you, well, that's a matter of how you see things. If it's a simple method to append the DWG from Revit in Plan3D and the DWG from Plan3D in Revit, or if it's a complicated thing, it could be better. So there's room for enhancement. I would also see that. And yes, for now, that's the way to go. And yeah, many customers are using these workflows and successful on their projects. Okay, so will there be an IFC workflow between Revit and Plan3D? That's the next question, and that is actually a very similar question, because you're asking for enhancing the interoperability between Plan3D and Revit. But now think, would it really help if you export a model as IFC from Plan3D and put it into Revit? So what will it be in Revit then? will it be a valid piping model in Revit? Probably not, because what you need in Revit is the specs. If you want to continue piping in Revit, you need the specs, or families, as you call it in Revit. So you would also need to transfer the families. IFC wouldn't solve the problem. What would solve the problem is to really get an import of the model and the specs at the same time. Specs translated into families and the model. And then you can continue piping in Revit. That's what the customers are always asking for. Is a huge investment. It's a huge investment to create such an integration. IFC wouldn't solve the problem. IFC would just bring over objects and then probably some intelligence, but you will not be able to continue piping in Revit. So IFC, in my understanding, wouldn't solve the problem. Or not perfectly, just some part of it. Maybe the part that you are missing would solve it, but other customers then want to continue piping in Revit. So it would be a huge thing to. So the next question, is it going to be possible to export an IFC model directly from Plant 3D? Again, yeah, no, first of all, no, it's not possible. So there's some workaround where you could use AutoCAD MEP to export Plant 3D as IFC, and you can also turn on in this MEP application the insulation, for example. But the IFC in Revit, it will not be intelligent, first of all. Second, it will be these building proxy elements. I'm not sure if you're going to get happy with this. So I'm not sure if IFC would really solve the problem, because you always have the specs in the background, and you would need to transfer them with your file. So it's not that simple, you know. Is it going to be next question? Why is transfer between BIM 360 servers not possible, and why can't we link an existing BIM 360 license to European servers? So again, such license and cost questions is something I cannot directly answer. So the questions we will take offline and trying to answer them in this handout that you always find from the sessions. But why is transfer between BIM 360 servers not possible? So if you're talking about Plant 3D projects, that's possible. So you use this backup button from the project manager in Plant 3D, where you right click on the top level of your project tree, so where the project name is, and then you right click and then you create a backup. So this backup will be SQLite project. This you can upload then to the other account, to the other server. So that's possible. And you can also do this you can transfer project from team to docs using this workflow. You can also transfer a project from Vault to BIM 360 docs like this. You can also, from a SQL Server project, you can create a backup. It will be SQLite project. So that's a good function, and always needs to be considered when transferring projects. Okay, how do you transform Revit piping to plant models? That's interoperability. Yeah, same thing. So just transferring the piping. Yeah, what you need specs then. Either you need specs that are totally aligned to your Revit families, or you need to transfer the families and convert them into specs in Plant 3D if you want to really continue piping the Revit piping in Plant 3D. It's not that easy. Not even to mention that the concepts, the piping concepts in Revit and Plant are different. So you will not find for every part that you have in Revit a according part in Plant 3D and vice versa. So I'm not saying that it cannot be improved, but I'm saying that this kind of improvement that the customers usually expecting is a huge investment, and And sometimes you should maybe think about, yeah, why I need to do this. Is it really necessary? Because sometimes, yeah, by contract, it starts with the contract. You have a project and somebody delivers Plan 3D piping into Revit. But the Revit users cannot deal with Plan 3D, the Plan 3D users cannot deal with Revit. So yeah, maybe you should think at this point already what can be improved to avoid bad workflows on your project. Finally, you can report, for example, Revit and Plan 3D, for example, via Autodesk Assemble. So that's where you create a Navisworks model from all your project, and then you transfer to Assemble, where you can nicely report all the object data out of it. So for example, reporting, you don't have to do it in Revit. You don't have to do it in Plan 3D. You can do it in Assemble, for example. Or you report from both and align the reports and bring them together. Yeah, I totally understand what you're asking for, but again, it's not that easy. And by the way, I'm not the product manager. So if you are seeking any answers from product management, you can contact your vendor, see if this discussion can be established between you and the product management. When are the specs coming to Revit? Yeah, will the fabrication parts be used? So what I can say here, that if there is improvement coming in Revit, I expect it to come on the fabrication parts, on the fabrication piping, because that's what we were actually asking to our development, like, are there improvements coming? They said, yeah, fabrication. So the standard piping in Revit has kind of limits, while the fabrication piping offers more room for improvement. So my expectation would be that the fabrication piping will be improved in the future. But yeah, and then good question, when are the specs coming to Revit? Again, something I cannot really answer here. We will try to get more information and put it into the handout. As far as I know, there is a plan. There is a long-term plan to work on the Revit piping to support better what we know from standard piping software as Plan 3D, for example. Yeah, somebody's saying that using AutoCAD architecture, you can export to IFC. That's the same as with AutoCAD MEP. You can get a file, IFC file from a Plan 3D file, but it will be, no intelligence will be there, no properties, saying no properties, and then also it's building in Revit. Those will be this building element proxy or something like that, and also they are triangled in a not so nice way, these IFCs. So usually not liked so much, just geometries, yeah. So so somebody was asking, between US and EU servers, the transfer is not possible. You cannot transfer BIM 360 projects, but you can transfer Plan 3D projects. You can take them with the backup function from the US server and upload them to the EU server. That's absolutely no problem, if this was your question. I'm referring to the question, why is transfer between BIM 360 servers not possible? So what is not possible is to take the whole BIM 360 project from one server and put it into a different server or even different account. That's not possible. But what you can do is Plan 3D projects, you can always backup them as SQLite projects with the backup button and then upload them to a different account or server, whatever. That's absolutely possible. IFC, it's mostly needed because others ask for it, yeah, because they work with other programs. I understand there's no need for Revit. Yeah, well, if you really need IFC, so there are ways to do it. AutoCAD MEP, or as Alberto said here, AutoCAD Architecture is a program where you can open Plans 3D files. And I know with AutoCAD MEP, you can also, it offers you the insulation parameter, where you can enable the insulation in the AutoCAD MEP application and then export it. So that's important because you can, like this, you can export your piping model with the insulation displayed as IFC. So that's possible, but again, this IFC is nothing the customers usually love. Does Plans 3D also export the insulation? To Revit as DWG? That's a good point. I think that's something that it doesn't do. But again, you can open AutoCAD MEP. You can load the Plans 3D file, and then you can type. I think it's called plant insulation. Turn it on, and then export it as IFC. That's possible as a workaround here if DWG doesn't have the insulation. Yeah, it's a good point actually about the DWG export. And then somebody's saying that's a problem. It's a huge investment for companies to develop detailed methods to share model data between Autodesk products. It is the client who is dedicated all project models to be delivered in Revit format. At BIM-lot for. Well, so we have improvements, for example, regarding Inventor and Revit back and forth. There are, I think, Inventor to Revit to Inventor is already released the improvements, and the other way around will also come. So it's not like we are not concerned about this. But when talking about Plans 3D and Revit, there is room. There's lots of room for enhancement. And we are from the support. We do communicate this frequently, and the customer need to improvements here. So there are things going on. I just cannot tell you what's going to happen because that's really what the product management knows. And as long as they don't publish any roadmap details, I cannot really comment on this. Okay, so I think I'm already over the hour, and really thanks a lot everyone to participate this call. I'm a bit sad that I couldn't offer you here the news about enhancements on the P&ID, on the Plans 3D to Revit or vice versa interoperability. But yeah, sometimes it's also, you could question, like, is it really necessary to get your piping perfectly from Revit into Plans 3D or from Plans 3D into Revit? What is it really, what I need in this application? If it's, for example, about reporting, there are things to do it. There are things to do differently. And so it's not resulting necessarily in a bad solution. So we have many options, we have many tools, and yeah, it makes sense to think about this before you start a project, about this interoperability, how to solve it. And yeah, it also makes sense for us to further push enhancements on this interoperability. And that's what we're actually doing. So thank you very much for joining this call, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.